For most people, debt is a bad word, but it can make you rich if you know how to use it. And it's not rocket science either. I mean, it's how most rich people got rich, and you can do it too. And I'm gonna show you how. You ready? Let's go. Lots of people will tell you how to get out of debt, like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman and Chris Hogan and just about every personal finance authority you see interviewed on TV. Yet very few will show you how to use debt instead. And this is unfortunate, particularly for people who aspire for more than mediocrity, meaning a focus of getting out of debt is a defensive play, one that will significantly slow your personal journey to your riches. Eliminating debt, it fits in snugly with the saving money and sacrificing and living below your means type of advice, all of which center around a lack of understanding of how money works. But really, mostly people are just kind of scared to use it. The idea that you must get out of debt to be rich or even just moderately successful is a lie. And sadly, it's accepted as an unequivocal truth. Those that tell you to get out of debt believe debt is bad for you and that you don't have the wherewithal to manage it correctly. They're saying you lack financial know-how. And I don't know, maybe that's the case. For now, stand by and we're gonna change that. The truth is, the wealthiest of society carry a lot of debt. And the realization of that can feel, counterintuitive. But when you understand what they use debt for, it makes a whole lot more sense. Few people will argue with you that your money should work for you, and you can certainly get rich this way. But we only have so much of our own money to put to work. When we get other people's money to work for you, you can get wealthy because there's no limit to other people's money. And for most wealthy people, that's exactly what they did. Because they don't use debt on cars and vacations or shopping sprees. That's bad debt. But rather they use it to buy assets that more than make up for the debt that they carry. That's good debt. And it's the income and the gains from those assets that pays for their cars, their vacations, and shopping sprees. And during times of rampant inflation like we're experiencing at the moment, knowing how to use debt is critical right now to not just building your wealth, but preserving it. And for two reasons. One, you're limited to the return your own money can generate. For example, if your mutual fund is on track this year for a 6% return, an 8% inflation rate nets your returns to negative 2%. If you're not earning more than 8% in your investment portfolio right now, you're losing money. Number two, as inflation eats up your investment returns and the purchasing power of your dollar, it does the same thing to the money that you borrow. So would you rather inflation destroy your money or the money you borrowed? Exactly. So it makes sense to learn how to use someone else's money. In other words, borrow money to buy your assets, doesn't it? A simple example of using debt to make money might look like this. You borrow $100 from John at 6% interest, and you loan that $100 to Joan at 12% interest. Joan pays you each month $1 to cover the interest on the money that she borrowed from you. And then you, in return, pay John each month 50 cents to cover the interest on the money you borrowed from him. Now you've got 50 cents left over, and that's yours to keep. You just made money by borrowing money. Now, 50 cents is nothing to get excited over, but we could easily add a few zeros to the numbers, couldn't we? And now you're making an extra $500 per month, or $5,000 per month, or $50,000. That's how it works. The sky's the limit. Now, a more realistic way might look something like this. Let's say you take out a home equity line of credit on your house for, say, $100,000, and your interest rate is 5%. And you invest it in an index fund in the stock market, of which historically has produced an 8% annual return. You're earning about $667 per month from your index fund, while paying $416 per month on your home equity loan. Your wealth is growing by $251 per month. And over a 10-year period, you're looking at an extra $30,000 added to your net worth for doing nothing else than moving money from your house to an index fund and then waiting. Here's another example of using debt to create wealth that's a little bit more exciting and, not surprisingly, much more common, like borrowing money from a bank to purchase a single-family income property. We'll say this house has a value of $100,000 and rents for $1,000 per month. Now, these types of houses are readily available at cashflowsavvy.com, by the way. Feel free to head over there after the video and download their free investment package. So if we did what Dave Ramsey suggests, paying cash for this house, you could expect a conservative return of 3% in annual appreciation, of which would give you $3,000 at the end of the year. After deducting about 40% from the rent you're collecting, you should expect about a 7% return on your cash flow and about a 1% return in depreciation. That's the tax benefits the IRS gives us for owning real estate. So a total annual yield of 11%. Not terrible. You're staying ahead of inflation at least. Now, if you were to purchase the same house in the way that I suggest, by putting down 20% and borrowing the rest, using the exact same numbers, your annual profit and appreciation would be about 15%. Your cash flow would bump up to about 9%, your depreciation 5%, and then you get two bonuses. A return in amortization of about 1%. This is the return you get from your tenant paying down the money that you borrowed. And this number, it actually gets bigger the longer you own the property. It's kind of small in the first years, but it gets really big later on. And then the inflation-induced destruction of the money that you borrowed of 32%. Yep. See, inflation, it's a bad thing when it comes to your money, but it pays well when it's someone else's money used to buy your assets. So a total annual yield of 30%. 62% if you add the return on inflation. Some people may want to challenge me on this math, so I'll just kind of put that off to the side. But it's real. You can count on it. So with this house, you get an 11% return on your investment by avoiding debt. You get a 30% return at least by using it. So under which scenario would your wealth increase faster? Not to mention, how quickly could you get started if you only needed a $20,000 down payment versus the whole $100,000? If you had $100,000 to originally invest, you could purchase 4 additional houses that are all yielding 30% versus the one house at 11%. And it gets better. Using the equity of one house after a couple years of appreciation to borrow against, you could buy more and then repeat the process. Bad debt makes you poorer, such as credit card debt and car loans, stuff like that. I agree with Dave and Susie on this. Good debt makes you richer, such as a loan for an investment property or equipment for your business, or education that teaches you how to use debt properly or teaches you how to invest and or run a business. And whether you're borrowing money to re-lend it, borrowing money from your HELOC to put it into the stock market, or borrowing from a bank to buy an income property, it's not the investment choice that makes good debt good. It's the educated investor that does. And now you've got some insight. You're a little bit more educated. That's the first piece of the puzzle, understanding how it works. The second piece is learning how to find good deals that cover the costs of the money that you're borrowing, while leaving some left over for you, that being your cash flow. This is where Mercedes and I focused in the beginning, just finding good deals and then concerning ourselves with the money later. And what we quickly learned was that once we found a good deal and put it under contract, it was really easy for us to prove to potential lenders how they would make money by lending to us. And so they did. And so we got started with really small, just $50,000 houses in Illinois and Tennessee, Ohio, and Indianapolis. And then we moved to bigger properties in Alabama, Missouri, and Nevada. And now we're moving to even bigger ones. And you can check in with cashflowsavvy.com if you'd like them to find today's best deals for you. Or if you'd like to do it yourself, answer a few short questions at reiace.com, and then we can hop on the phone to brainstorm some ideas as to what that might look like for you. We've all been taught to think of debt as a 4-letter word, but it doesn't have to be, especially once you have the financial know-how to see how debt can work for you instead of against you. So what did you find most valuable? Let me know below. And who else do you know that might need to see this? When their name comes to mind, please share with them. Oh, and if you're already subscribed, I went ahead and I pulled this video out here special for you to watch next. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Take care.